Well, they're admitting this seems to be about Sharon Moore perhaps deleting those text messages, which were later recovered. But there's no integrity in NCAA sports anymore. The NCAA wanted Harbaugh gone. He's gone. This was our slap on the wrist. It's over. That's from Scott and Carlton. Well, Michigan fans, how you feel about it? 248-539-9797.
This is all only part of it. I mean, this is a Michigan part of it. And we still haven't heard boo about Central Michigan and what will happen with them with the Connor Stallion stuff.
If anything, if it's just Connor or if it has anything to do with Michigan.
Yeah, I'm saying this is just the Michigan part. I'm just moving around with the other moving parts with this whole Connor Stallions thing. It goes all over the place. So
yeah. I think that is a likely long-term show cause for Connor Stallions. But Champ and Chump, get your votes in for Champ and Chump of the weekend. Scott, I suspect there'll be quite a bit of votes on the Tigers for Champ of the weekend.
Huh.
What did you think of the weekend that was?
Well, with the Tigers, I obviously was very happy with what I saw. Taking 3 out of 4, then you're disappointed that you lose the one game. But it's okay. There are there's so many positives have come out of this season so far, and even more positives continue through the weekend. I mean, Javi Baez, the back-to-back games with home runs. We talked about it a little bit in the crosstalk there with the guys about his start. He's leading the team in WAR, which is kind of crazy because statistically he shouldn't be, but because the WAR stats crazy he is. But I'll take it because I like how he's played. He's been a very good substitution in center field when necessary, and he's played the infield pretty well as also. And that's like the baseline. But how is he hitting? Very well, actually. Hitting around 300. His OPS, I think, is over 800 now, which is kind of crazy to think with Javi, with the way that things started and the way they've gone for the last couple of years. But good for him. Riley Green, I think, is hitting like 500 over his last 4 or 5 games. Kerry Carpenter coming out, he's a threat to hit the ball over the fence every time he comes to the plate, and so is Torkelson. And between those 3 guys, they're clubbing the ball, man. If I told you the Tigers were going to rank in the top 5 in home runs and batting average and runs scored at this point in the season, I don't think you'd believe me. And that's exactly where they're at. It's crazy how good they've started off. And the power numbers are like, where is this coming from? And, okay, is this just a statistical anomaly with how things have started? Or is this what we can expect with those 3 guys in the lineup on most nights? That, yeah, they're power hitters. These guys are going to hit, with Riley Green and Carpenter, they should hit close to 30 home runs a season. And Torque, sky's the limit with Torkelson. He's on pace to hit 49. I don't think he's going to hit 49, but if Torkelson stays healthy and this is what we're seeing, I mean, 35 isn't out of the question, and 35 plus is not out of the question. We've seen that. The pitching has been spectacular throughout the season so far. Jack Flaherty, you're wondering a little bit, hey, what's going on here? The last couple outings, he has not been good his last 2 outings, but by and large, he has been for the season. His ERA is still well below 4. I really like what this team has done. It's been great. And, guys you want to put some pressure on, Colt Keith, well, he hit his first 3 home runs of the season in the last week. Since Wednesday that's when he hit his first home run, and he had a couple more. And showing the power stroke to go over the wall in the opposite field was nice to see. The home run he hit yesterday was just a laser. But he's got to hit more. And the other disappointing part to the season so far is the offensive part for Jace Young. He's only had 30 at-bats, but he's only got 3 hits in the 30 at-bats. Defensively, he's been an improvement. But, look, Matt Vierling is going to come back later this week. And when Matt Vierling comes back, my guess is that Jace Young is going to go back down to Toledo.
You've touched on a lot of stuff there. I want to go back to where you started, which is Baez. Baez, Torque, and Mize. That trio of comebacks is remarkable, and I don't know which one's going to stick. If all 3 of them are going to stick, if there's false hope, if they are just having a great month and a half to open up the season, I don't know if there's a shelf life on those, if the clock is ticking down. Javi Baez looks like a completely different player.
He's hitting 309 with an 829 OPS at this point.
Do you know how beloved a player is that can play shortstop and center field, have those kinds of offensive numbers? Who takes extra bases, running the base? Like, you start looking at what Javi Baez is now and what Javi Baez has been in Detroit, they couldn't be more polar opposite. Spencer Torkelson was a forgotten man. And but what I mean by that is when we had Tiger discussions, he didn't even come up. He wasn't even discussed. He wasn't even, people weren't calling and talking about, can they get anything about Torque? People had moved on. And Casey Mize, kind of the same thing. And they just keep layering good performance on top of good performance on top of good performance. And, what do we buy into? Is all of their success predicated on those guys keeping it up? Or is their success predicated on the right people making plays at the right times? And what I mean by that is, if there is some sort of fall off from Baez, is that void going to be filled by Colt Keith?
Right.
Because right now, Colt Keith is heating up, but Baez isn't cooling down. Is any production that Torque is providing going to be, if that starts to fade, is that going to be filled by, the collective return of Veerling and Meadows? I mean, I know they're different types of players, but, is that what makes this thing believable and sustainable?
I mean, they've got 3 regulars that will be back in this lineup, hopefully, within 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Parker Meadows, Matt Veerling, and Jake Rogers is the other one, kind of the forgotten man. And, Dylan Dingler's played great. Dylan Dingler's hitting 300. He's hit for power with 4 home runs already. Tomas Nido, he's done a nice job. He's actually hitting 360 in the limited at-bats he's got. I don't think anybody's in any hurry to get Jake Rogers back, and yet what Jake Rogers does is work with his pitching staff. He might even make the pitching staff better, which is crazy to think because how good the pitching staff has been. But they've got some tough decisions to make when these guys do get healthy. And the catcher situation will work itself out because you're not going to carry 3 catchers in the roster. My guess is, there's something happens with Nido there. But with Veerling and Meadows coming back, Veerling maybe for Young, that's an easy one. But then when Meadows comes back, what do? It starts to get tougher and tougher.
248-539-9797. Let's get to our Champ and Chump nominations. Gator, my champ of the weekend is Riley Green as he continues to hit the ball. The 2 home runs on Friday. 2 in the 9th inning, which had never been done in the history of Major League Baseball. Was it Friday or Saturday? Was it Saturday? Anyway, whatever it was. 2. Nobody had ever done it. Was it Friday? Okay. Nobody had ever done it before. Riley Green, my champ of the weekend.
My champ is going to be Dallas Stars forward Mikko Rantanen. 5 goals and 11 points in his last 3 playoff games, including the game clincher over Colorado, where he scored 3 goals, added an assist in the 3rd period alone. That ties an NHL record for most points in a single period, which, by the way, he had already tied the previous game with 4 points in the 2nd period. Mikko Rantanen's been incredible, and to do that against his former team, the Avalanche, and to knock them out of the playoffs and advance Dallas' season, that's a hell of a stretch.
My chump of the weekend is Josh Hart from the Knicks. Did you hear what he said on this podcast?
I did not.
Okay. It's the Roommates Show, and he said on his podcast that Tim Hardaway might have gotten the call at the end of Game 4 had he not been foul baiting. He pump faked, and if he just tried to shoot instead of foul baiting, and he's laughing while he's saying this, then maybe he would have got the call. But the moment the Pistons started trying foul baiting was the moment that they didn't get the call. Ha ha. He thinks it's funny.
I got to tell you, that guy, if Brunson weren't the poster child for hatred of Detroit fans, he's right there, complaining after every play. He literally complained after every single play. And for him to say that, foul baiting, if he wasn't foul, your entire existence is based on foul baiting. That's why you're here on this earth. That's rich coming from him.
Yep.
My chump, it's still the NBA officials. I'm not going to let it go. They screwed the Pistons with the no foul call, which cost them the game and control. And at worst, we should be talking about what happened in an epic Game 7 on Saturday night. Instead, we're relegated to already discussing what the future of the Pistons will be, which we'll get to later in the show.
248-539-9797. Get your feedback in, your champ and chump votes. If you want to continue with the the Sharon Moore story, suspended for 2 games for people just joining us, Michigan fans. Are you disappointed, or are you thinking that this is a smart move to try and bring it to a resolution? Some people want to fight everything with the NCAA. Get your thoughts in at 248-539-9797. Are the Tigers a World Series contender? We asked that on Twitter. We've just started talking about them. We will get to what the Twitter poll says and read some tweets coming up today at 10:50. It is Karsch and Anderson here on 97.1 The Ticket.